Welcome back to Kong API Summit 2025. My name is Paul Nashawaty. I'm the practice lead and principal analyst at theCUBE Research, and I cover app dev and all things related to application developers. And I'm coming to you live from the show floor at the event. Jonas, how you doing?
I'm fine.
Great to have you here. Jonas from SEB.
Yeah.
Yeah? Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and a little bit about SEB?
I'm an enterprise architect at the SEB. I'm driving the API transformation. I've been doing that for the last 5-6 years.
Super exciting stuff.
Yeah.
That's why you're at the show.
Yeah. So we've been an early customer to Kong. It started, I think it was about 5-6 years ago. And I can maybe go through how it looked like before Kong, which is kind of interesting, especially in the API area. Before Kong, if a team wanted to publish an API, they had to book a meeting with a guy and go with that API, actually, or send an email, and walked over, and he went through a manual process of like 8-9 steps, and then the API got published. And then 6 years ago, open banking happened. And of course, that solution didn't scale that well.
Right.
So we needed something different. So we looked at around in the market and found Kong. And within a year, the whole API lifecycle process is fully automated. So the teams actually don't see the gateway or don't meet that guy who published the API. They just, through the repository, hit a button and the API gets published.
Sure.
So it was quite a journey we took within 1 year, and it changed how it changed the whole organization.
Well, Jonas, I just kind of envision like a suitcase with like handcuffed to somebody's wrist, and they walked into the room with this API.
Yeah, it was almost like that. And I talked to this guy who did the publishing, and because it was actually like a window of 9 steps. You know, what is that third window? It's like, I don't know. I was told to just do this. So it was really manual. And it was a centralized way of looking at the integration, and we wanted something more decentralized. The teams own their integration and then have full control of it.
Yeah, not really scalable, and
not at all. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the keynote was super exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot happening there. What's going on? What are your thoughts from the keynote?
I mean, we're in that journey, especially in AI. I think we're getting, for us. We're getting ready. We're using AI for cost optimization and efficiency. But to take the next step to innovate on it, we need to set, or we say, like our house in order, our foundation, and that is reusable good APIs.
Yeah.
And that's the process we're in at the moment, trying to set that layer so we can innovate on top of that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, when I heard you talking about SEB, and you were talking about like the kind of the transitions that you made. Obviously, the heritage way of doing things is just not scalable, not going to work. Yeah. But what are some of the things that your team did to shift to move from your traditional API teams to the API platform teams? And can you talk a little bit about this?
Because it was a shift, and it's sometimes, at least in our case, it's sometimes hard to change behavior.
Sure.
Because we, been in a Swedish bank, I think we're over 100 years old. We're doing IT last 30, 40, 50 years. We have mainframe. And the teams, when they did integration, in the past, they went to someone, like a broker team, the ASB team, and then did the integration.
Right.
So the integration was never part of whatever I was building, if it was, payment execution, so. And that, we need to change that whole process, and it was built in for the teams. They book meetings. Okay, I want to integrate with you. Let's book a meeting.
Right.
No, we're not going to book meetings. We should have a developer portal where you look at these APIs, where you try to reuse them. But and that was a process, both an architectural and a developer process, but it's more organizational process to really set this ownership of products which have APIs which customers consume. But it took like maybe in different departments. Some departments were straight on, and some others we had to work a little bit harder on.
Did you have skill gap changes and challenges?
Yeah. And we had to, you have to be careful about it. So we had to take it in steps. But the good thing, we had from the beginning very good management support who had the persistence to staying on it and through the whole journey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing in our research, we did some application development research, and it just came back in September. We're finding that 67% of organizations are hiring generalists over specialists, and the challenge is they're doing this because they just can't find the specialists, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so what they're realizing is there's a friction and there's challenges with complexity and skill gap issues, right?
Yeah.
And these organizations like yourselves, right? Potentially push back on vendors like Kong and say make it frictionless, make it easier to use. Has Kong been able to neutralize some of that?
Yeah, I mean, for us, the teams should focus on building their capability, their product, and that product, now we have APIs representing SEB's core business. And they're divided into different products like payment execution, deposit accounts, loans, etc. And the teams should focus on building that product, having a strategy and roadmap for the product. They shouldn't worry about different protocols or security. That should be handled by the infrastructure and the platform. So we removed all of that, so making it a lot easier for the teams now. And the whole, as I said in the beginning, the whole API lifecycle is fully automated.
Yeah.
And the biggest complaint we hear at the moment is from the teams we don't see Kong. No, you don't see it because we have a pipeline. Well, that's the biggest.
But is that a good thing?
That's a very good thing.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of talks about how we changed this and how Kong was a big part of it, from a centralized to a more decentralized looking. So the teams, were actually kind of curious, where is it? But it's been behind the pipeline, and you just worry about building your functionality.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Focus on what you're doing and let whatever happens under the covers just kind of work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about some of those other challenges. So you had some heritage way of doing things, you had complexity issues. What are some of the other challenges you ran into with regards to modernizing?
The biggest challenge is our history. We have not made it easy for ourselves. Then, of course, we have a long history, so we have tried every kind of integration possible in the world. And even now we're building up the new world with APIs and products, but we still have, files, and we have MQ, and we have Kafka, and we have broker, and we have ESB. We need to start removing that complexity from the old world. So and whenever you do that, you don't you have a cost efficiency, but you don't have a business value.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets where should we focus?
Yeah, there's a lot of conversation right now in my world of app dev. There's a lot of conversation of bridging the gap between heritage environments and new environments. Everyone wants to modernize. They want to get to a containerized environment. They want to move to a new approach and utilize the standardized approach. But there's still this legacy or heritage environment that they have to maintain. How are you overcoming some of those challenges?
It's quite a challenge, and then. At the same time we're doing this, the whole API journey, moving from monoliths to more products, component-based architecture. At the same time we're moving to cloud, multi-cloud, and now we're moving to the AI world. So everything is happening at the same time. But we have to sort it out from where can we gain from a bank the best? Where is at the moment where we can have a business opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, banking is super competitive, right? Because you have a lot of competition out there that's certainly game for that.
We had, for example, in the custody area, which is a small segment, and our customers in that area is large financial institutions. Usually the sales process is very long. You start having some talks, and a year after you find them set a deal. And in that area, for another customer, we published an API on our external developer portal. A few days afterwards, a customer we have never talked to just, hey, you have an API, I really like it, can we start engaging? So you see the power of APIs and exposing them externally, if they're good and well documented.
How is that changing with regards to agents and AI agents and using those APIs? How is that working?
I mean, that's where we see the next opportunity.
Okay.
Especially for large corporates in that world, which have a lot of data, and you have a complex environment. That's where we see you can use it to really innovate and take the next steps.
Are you currently doing that today? Yeah, we're working on it, yeah. Yeah. So do you are you looking at different LLMs and
Yeah, and
ways to
we have a big cooperation with NVIDIA. NVIDIA is setting up an AI center in Sweden, where we are a financer of that.
nice. So you're at the kind of early stages.
Yeah.
You've taken a number of steps to modernize.
Yeah.
What are some of the other benefits that maybe with Kong and some of the tech stack? What are some of the benefits that you had? I know it sounds like frictionless is one.
Yeah. I mean, from the beginning with Kong, they have really, how should I put it? They've been this partner who's pushed us in a good way forward.
Sure.
Not holding us back, but not at the same time pushing us too hard, because we're still a bank. We need to have to take these steps, and we need to have to control whatever who's doing what and who's consuming what service and so on. So, and now when I think we're going to have the same principles. The teams, they're going to have knowledge on building the product, but now we're going to use AI to enhance that and take those next steps, but really focus on their product, not thinking about too much of the, if I'm in that cloud, using that engine or that engine.
Yeah. A lot of times I come to these vendor shows, and especially when they're announcing new product, it's usually something that's a few years out for a lot of organizations. So what's happening today, what's being announced today, usually is something that is adopted, but it's adopted a next year or a year after. Do you see from the announcements and sounds like you're very connected with Kong.
Yeah.
Do you see from those announcements? We
need to, because we need to be prepared. So we need to look at it today.
Yeah.
Even though it might have an impact maybe 1 or 2 years ahead of us, but we have to be prepared. We have to have from an enterprise view, how are we going to use it? Where should we use it first?
Right.
We can't just wait.
All right, Jonas. So let me ask you this: if we're sitting here in 2026 at Kong's API Summit, and we're sitting here having the same conversation, where do you fast forward and see, what you're doing and these initiatives and how you're adopting it?
Then I'm hoping that AI is helping us to drive the business, and also that we have started. I'm saying started, but maybe we're taking a few steps on trying to remodernize our old legacy, using AI for that also.
Nice. Well, any parting words you'd like to leave with the audience?
It's a fun journey, and it's interesting. That's what I can say. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it definitely is going to continue to be interesting. AI is not making things easy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Jonas, I really appreciate you being on today. This has been really great having you on. Your insights and your perspective of what you're doing and is really kind of amplifies what we're seeing at the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night.
And I want to thank the audience for watching. I am Paul Nashawaty, and I'm coming to you live from the show floor at Kong API Summit 2025 on theCUBE, your leading source of tech news.